Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Um, Welcome to Urban Infra Forum today. Yes, today is the last forum of this semester. So we have very special speaker today, Ambassador Changbom Kim. He is a well-experienced diplomat of South Korea. It is a great pleasure to introduce today's speaker. Mr. Changbom Kim is a distinguished graduate of Seoul National University, and he earned a master's degree from Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies. He has just completed his diplomatic career of 39 years in September 2020. He has served as Korean ambassador to Indonesia from January 2018 to July 2020. He also worked in Brussels as Korean ambassador to European Union and Belgium from 2012 through 2015. Ambassador Kim has special ties and experiences with European Union, ASEAN, and Indonesia. He is currently working as co-founder and advisor at newly established Center for Strategic and Cultural Studies in Korea. During his career, he made significant contributions to the promotion of Korea's partnership with EU and ASEAN through summit meeting preparations and substantial progresses in trade, investments, and people-to-people exchange. He has worked together with the Indonesian government in reaching a final conclusion of Indonesia-Korea Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement in November 2019. During his career as Foreign Service Officer, he has served 5 overseas posts and worked at various positions within the Korean government ever since he joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in December 1981. Today's lecture, from his expertise and experiences as a Korean ambassador, will be the best interest of yours. Please give your warm welcome to today's speaker, Mr. Changbom Kim.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, and probably for some, good evening. Thank you so much for the warm introduction by Professor Lee Sao. And also, I'd like to express my deepest gratitude to University of Seoul for inviting me as a special lecturer for this Urban Infrastructure Forum. I'm very delighted and excited to meet with students from overseas and also from Korea. I am quite happy to join you all at this last forum of Urban Infra Forum of this semester. Let me just start with the presentation for about more or less about 50 minutes, and then it will be followed by Q&A. As was introduced by Professor Saul, today's topic is on Korea-ASEAN partnership and smart city cooperation. I guess that some of you are now residing in Southeast Asian countries that is from ASEAN. So I think that you probably have better field experiences and living knowledge on ASEAN, much better than I. And perhaps also some of you might be personally working on smart city development or the urban design and urban development. So I think that's I'm probably in a position to better learn from you all. But I think that's since I've been on the field in a diplomatic scene, so I think that's my presentation is more or less on uh, based upon my experiences and also some kind of diplomatic perspectives when it comes to the growing, increasingly important and closer partnership between Korea and ASEAN. Also, within that context, cooperation in the field of smart city. As was introduced by very generously by Dr. Saw, I've been working for almost 39 years in my diplomatic career, and the recent one was my service as ambassador to Indonesia from 2018 to 2020. On the upper left photo is I was appointed by President Moon Jae-in as Korean ambassador to Indonesia. And then I've been working for President Lee Myung-bak as well as the chief of the presidential protocol for about a little more than 4 years. The upper right photo is I was briefing some plan of proceedings to President Lee Myung-bak at the time. And I've been also working for then Foreign Minister Ban Ki-moon as assistant, special assistant to the Foreign Minister when he was running for campaign for the seat of United Nations Secretary General. And there's one photo that is, I think that some might know who is at the center of the photo. That's President Joko Widodo of Indonesia. He's currently incumbent president of Indonesia. And I was standing right next to him. And another gentleman next to him is next to President Jokowi is North Korean ambassador to Indonesia. It was right after the first Panmunjom Inter-Korean Summit meeting, and I and North Korean ambassador to Indonesia were invited to meet with President Jokowi of Indonesia to have discussions on the outcome of the Inter-Korean Summit meeting that took place in April 2018. So my career has been a bit of full of diversities from Europe, Asia, and the United States. But my experiences on smart city is very limited, even though I've been working for City of Seoul, Seoul Metropolitan Government, as ambassador for international relations for 2 years. So please forgive me in my lack of understanding on smart city, but I will try my best. Today's lecture will be composed of 3 parts. It will be starting with the why ASEAN matters, and then move to partnership between Korea and ASEAN, and lastly, the Smart City Cooperation. And I will briefly touch upon at the end of the presentation Korea's own endeavors to promote smart city development and the cooperation with foreign governments, both central and local level, smart city cooperation. Let me start with why ASEAN is important. You know that ASEAN is a regional cooperation body that comprises 10 member states in Southeast Asia. There's starting with Philippines, Laos, Vietnam, Brunei Darussalam, Malaysia, Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar, Singapore, and Indonesia. That regional cooperation architecture was established in 1967. The founding 5 members, so that is Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, and the Philippines, that is to facilitate interstate cooperation, promote trade and economic development, and also to strengthen up so-called community building within the 10 Southeast Asian countries. This ASEAN as a regional architecture has made significant evolutionary progresses during the last a little more than 50 years. And especially when the Cold War has come to an end, then it has become more like a process to promote so-called one single market, one single kind of community of peace and prosperity. And when it comes to the ASEAN's external relations, that includes, of course, Korea, Japan, and China. This is called ASEAN Plus 3. As you can see, this ASEAN Plus 3 is another process that has been given birth to right after so-called Asian financial crisis in 1997. That financial crisis has made ASEAN feel more, in a much stronger manner, more need to consolidate regional integration, especially together with other major powerhouses in Asia. That includes, of course, Japan, China, and South Korea. This regional framework has been expanded to so-called East Asia Summit, that is ASEAN plus 3 plus. So now it's altogether 10. So that includes two major superpowers now, US, China, and of course Russia and other major stakeholders, including European Union. In 1998, that's right after the financial crisis, the so-called Chiang Mai Initiative has been taken up to have the common platform to help each other in financial and monetary matters. So that is another quite significant progress that ASEAN has made. And in 2007, that ASEAN Charter has been agreed upon amongst ASEAN member states, that is to move closer to community building of ASEAN. So that is the kind of progresses that ASEAN has made during a little more than 5 decades. Then there are 4 points, just simple points, that is giving us a snapshot of why ASEAN matters. The first one is with 650 million people, ASEAN has the third largest population in the whole world and a GDP of $3.1 trillion. Second, ASEAN is currently the third largest economy in the Indo-Pacific and the 5th largest in the whole world. And for the prospect, ASEAN's economy is projected to grow by over 5.5% per year and become the 4th largest economy in the world by 2050. And the fourth one, over 380 million people are under age 35 in ASEAN. That is 58% of the whole population. So that is indicating ASEAN is a very young region in comparison with other regions like Europe or North America. And let me just zoom in on some specific indicators. ASEAN has strong economic potentials. In 2020, the estimated total GDP of all ASEAN states amounted to approximately 3.1 trillion US dollars, a very significant increase from the previous year, 2019, even though it is in the midst of this global pandemic. And as you can see, this for population and for GDP per capita, Indonesia is almost occupying the 40% of the whole population of ASEAN. And out of the 10 member states, Singapore is excelling in per capita GDP. ASEAN's importance is again being well highlighted by the fact that ASEAN is a leading growth engine of the world. As you can see, there's a graph, there's a very sharp V-shape recovery that is now underway in 2021. So like most of the advanced industrial countries, of course, they are now recovering quite quickly, but ASEAN is well ahead of other industrialized countries and also other emerging economies. So in that sense, ASEAN is showing a very robust and resilient recovery out of global pandemic. And another potential that we should pay attention to is ASEAN's digital economy is in rapid growth. As is now being shown by this very simple infographics, Southeast Asia is rising in internet economy. ASEAN's internet economy hit $105 billion in 2020, even as the coronavirus pandemic prompted all the kind of shrinkage of the domestic economies, but people are showing a tendency, very sharp tendency, to go online to shop, get food delivered at home, and for entertainment purposes. So that has really propelled the acceleration of transition to digital economy within Southeast Asia. So according to this data, is by 2025, the ASEAN's digital economy will be expected to triple to almost 309 billion US dollars in gross merchandise value. So that is quite significant, probably most spectacular growth in comparison with other emerging economies. And ASEAN is making whole-out efforts to increase connectivity within ASEAN. ASEAN has very diverse backgrounds and very diverse level of economic development. And also it is geographically scattered out. So to connect ASEAN through development of sustainable infrastructure is a key priority. And in order to achieve this ASEAN connectivity buildup, ASEAN has come up with so-called Master Plan on ASEAN Connectivity, and this Master Plan is a platform upon which ASEAN is partnering with major international financial institutions and also foreign governments, including South Korea. ASEAN is now moving toward so-called ASEAN Economic Community, which is a bit of economic integration status to create a single market and also a single production base. The blueprint will be serving as a comprehensive guide for the establishment of economic community by 2025. It is envisioning a highly competitive economic region and region of fair economic development and a region fully integrated into the global economy. And let us turn to more geostrategic outlook in which ASEAN is poised. ASEAN is geographically and geostrategically located, situated at the center of the Indo-Pacific region. ASEAN is at the center of Indo-Pacific. As you can see, this in the middle of Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean. So we all know that the Asia Pacific and Indian Ocean regions are amongst the most dynamic in the whole world, and also is now serving as center of economic growth for the 21st century. As you can see, there is a Indo-Pacific kind of the boundaries, where in case of United States, from the Trump administration onward, U.S. is now putting more emphasis on free and open Indo-Pacific, that is including Southeast Asia. And ASEAN is at the center of the gravity and also center for competition between the United States and China. And you may have heard so-called Quad, 4 countries that is forming security partnership that is amongst United States, Australia, Japan, and India. Those 4 countries are almost surround the Southeast Asian region, which is now being led by ASEAN. So let me turn to another map that is from the Chinese perspective. You might have heard so-called China's Belt and Road Initiative, so-called BRI, One Belt, One Road Initiative. And there are 6 corridors within that BRI, Belt and Road Initiative. The one corridor that is including Indo-China Peninsula, that starting with Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar. So that is Indo-China corridor. That is one pillar of Belt and Road Initiative. And also this Maritime Silk Road, new Maritime Silk Road, that is cross-cutting the whole Indo-Pacific region, that is even reaching out to the eastern part of African continent. And another graph is showing us that the trend of Belt and Road Initiative investment in Southeast Asia. From 2014 to 2020, you can see the yellow, the line, which is going up and up, even though the total value of BRI investment is a bit dwindling down, is going down, but actual percentage of Southeast Asia, ASEAN, in the total BRI, Belt and Road initiative investment is going up. From 2018 to 2019 and 2020, still going on. Even under this corona pandemic situation, the BRI investment, especially directly into ASEAN, has shown significant shift. So last year, 2020, ASEAN overtook the European Union as China's largest trading partner. That means ASEAN became #1 trading partner to China, overpassing European Union in 2020. There's quite a historic shift in China's trading relations with foreign countries. That is in the middle of rising protectionism and the impacts of the coronavirus pandemic. So that is this under this intensifying competition between China and the United States, still the geostrategic importance of ASEAN is on the spotlight. Another aspect is still the ASEAN is at the center of regional architecture. ASEAN, this 10 member state regional body, is leading the regional cooperation through various mechanisms. That is, the first level is ASEAN +3, South Korea, China, Japan, and it is expanded to East Asia Summit that includes New Zealand, Australia, India, USA, Russia. And then the bigger framework is ASEAN Regional Forum. It's a regional security dialogue format that even includes North Korea. So these the ASEAN's centrality within the regional architecture shows us that ASEAN is still building quite important weight in the regional politics. Next, it is regional free trade agreement networks. ASEAN 10 member states are at the center of so-called Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, which was concluded last year. And that is the largest, biggest trade bloc in history, which is covering about 30% of global GDP and the 30% of the whole world population. So RCEP does include China, South Korea, Australia, Japan, New Zealand. And another trading bloc, which has been led by the United States, but has been withdrawn by United States under the Trump administration, and that is CPTPP, Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is covering Canada, Chile, Peru, Mexico. But still, these 4 ASEAN member states, Brunei, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, are still at the core of this CPTPP. Next, I think that I should speed up. The second topic is Korea-ASEAN partnership. ASEAN-Korea relations have gone through several stages of development. It started with the sectoral dialogue partnership. It's a modest start in 1989, and it has been elevated to dialogue partnership, full dialogue partnership, 1991. And then 2007, Korea-ASEAN have agreed upon the free trade agreement. And then 2010, it has been elevated to upgraded to strategic partnership in 2010, and 2019, just 2 years ago, this 30th year anniversary commemorative summit took place in Busan. So all in all, it's a little more than 30 years. It has shown significant progresses in the partnership between Korea and ASEAN. ASEAN is Korea's second largest trading partner, as you can see. In 2020, about 140 billion US dollars, and the 2018 it has recorded a peak hike in 2018, about 160 billion US dollars. Out of this 142 billion US dollars, about 45% of the whole export and import are being conducted with Vietnam. So Vietnam is occupying a kind of lion's share of Korea's trade partnership with ASEAN. ASEAN is Korea's top foreign direct investment destination. As you can see, China has been the top major destination for Korea's foreign direct investment overseas, but ASEAN has caught up with China. So as you can see, in 2017, 18, 19 onward, Korea's FDI investment destination has been more tilted toward ASEAN. ASEAN is also Korea's #1 ODA partner, Overseas Development Assistance Partner. So out of this Korea's whole development cooperation to the global community, about 24% of Korea's total ODA is going to ASEAN, Southeast Asia, and Vietnam is occupying about 35%, and then Myanmar, Indonesia, Laos, Cambodia are all about a little more than 10 or less percent of share within Korea's official development assistance. And we have ASEAN community in Korea, so altogether about 600,000 nationals from ASEAN countries. Out of 10 ASEAN member states, Vietnamese community is the largest, and next is Thailand. So increasingly, we have those ASEAN community kind of people, friends, relatives, wives, students from ASEAN member states, and that number is on the rise. Let me turn to Korea-ASEAN partnership, especially from the South Korea's perspective. As we have seen, this gradual development of the bilateral partnership between Korea and ASEAN, but this bilateral relations entered a new stage, a new era with the current Moon Jae-in government's New Southern Policy. New Southern Policy is aimed at expanding and enriching bilateral relations with ASEAN and India. It is the first time ever that the Korean government has put the highest emphasis and also put a specific name on the policy initiative to have much institutionalized and well-coordinated policy directions toward ASEAN and India. So Korea-ASEAN Community of Shared Future is a vision for this New Southern Policy. It is composed of 3 community buildings: community of people, community of prosperity, and community of peace. Let me dive into 3 communities. This is kind of new approaches. In the past, the ASEAN-Korea partnership has been more or less characterized as cooperation, more focus upon economic exchanges and economic cooperation, especially in trade and investment. So that is more or less in line with a community of prosperity, building a base for mutually beneficial, future-oriented economic cooperation. But we have added, this new Southern policy has added two other community buildings. One is community of people, people-oriented, people-to-people exchanges, and another additional one is community of peace, constructing a peaceful and sustainable environment in the region. So these three pillars is supporting this new policy initiatives taken by the current administration. And that has been well symbolized by the summit meeting, that is ASEAN Korea Commemorative Summit in November 2019. And this is to celebrate and commemorate the 30th year anniversary, but it is also to stocktake what we have achieved together and also to chart out the future 30 years to come. And there are several kind of the institutions that that are upholding the smooth operation of ASEAN Korea Partnership Building. One is ASEAN Korea Center, that was established in 2009 in Seoul. It is an intergovernmental organization committed to boost trade and attract investment, increase tourism, and expand cultural and people-to-people exchanges. And another mechanism or vehicle that is being used for ASEAN-Korea cooperation is ASEAN-Korea Cooperation Fund. It is launched in 1990 to further strengthen the ASEAN-Korea partnership. It is supporting more than 400 projects, including technology transfer, economic development, human resources development. And the Korean government is pouring about 14 million US dollars into that fund. And another institution is ASEAN Culture House, that is located in the city of Busan, the second largest city in Korea. It's a platform to play a bridge role in cultural exchanges between ASEAN and Korea. Perhaps you might have a chance to visit this ASEAN Culture House when you will have a next trip plan to visit Korea. And let me then turn to the last chapter, that is Smart City Cooperation. I think there are quite a number of experts and researchers and probably professors who are very knowledgeable about smart city development and urban design here. And the definition of smart city are very diverse and broad enough. And the definition itself is varying. And now I think there's, in case of Korea, I think the smart city is more like a platform to improve the quality of life for citizens, to enhance the sustainability of cities, and also serve urban challenges. So I think that every country has different priorities, different focuses. So there are no kind of the shortcuts, no one fits for all a kind of solution for smart cities. So let me touch upon ASEAN's approach and also South Korea's initiative to work together with foreign stakeholders in smart city. First one is the smart city kind of vision taken by ASEAN. ASEAN's vision is it's more like same with other countries, but a high quality of life, competitive economy, and sustainable environment. Those are three visions that ASEAN is putting forth, and it is especially in 2018 when Singapore was the chair country of ASEAN. ASEAN has put a greater emphasis on smart city cooperation within themselves. So that has brought about the birth of ASEAN Smart City Network, ASCN. ASCN is a collaborative platform where cities work together towards the common goal of smart and sustainable urban development. So that ASCN aims to facilitate cooperation on smart cities development, catalyze bankable projects with the private sector, and secure funding and support from ASEAN's external partners. That includes South Korea. That based upon that ASCN, ASEAN Smart City Network, ASEAN has selected 26 pilot cities in order to put more focused approaches to improve this whole ASCN activities. Let me start with the Philippines, Manila, Cebu City, Davao City, and Indonesia, Makassar, Banyuwangi, Jakarta, and Brunei is a Bandar Seri Begawan, the capital city, and Malaysia is a Kuching, city of Kuching, and Kota Kinabalu, and Johor Bahru, and KL, Kuala Lumpur was selected, Singapore, and in Thailand, Phuket, Chonburi, Bangkok was selected, and in Vietnam, Hanoi, Da Nang, and Ho Chi Minh City, and Cambodia, Phnom Penh, Battambang, Siem Reap, and Laos, Vientiane, Luang Prabang, and finally in Myanmar, Yangon, Naypyidaw, Mandalay. Those 26 cities were selected, and in case of Kota Kinabalu, Korea has been working together with the city of Kota Kinabalu, in smart city development. So for Korea, basically this, in case of Korea smart city development and cooperation, so-called MOLIT, Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, and Transport, is a leading ministry. Of course, it is joining hands with other related ministries and agencies. So the first ministerial meeting on smart city between ASEAN and Korea took place in Busan, Korea. It is right in the middle of 30th anniversary commemorative summit between ASEAN and Korea in 2019. So in order to foster smart city collaboration between Korea and ASEAN, Korea has taken an initiative to lead these efforts. So 4 areas of cooperation have been identified with ASEAN: urban development, safety, transportation, and water management. As you can see, this poster that's in 2019, ASEAN Korea has jointly organized Smart City Fair during this Busan Commemorative Summit in November 2019. And MOLIT, the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, and Transportation, is now conducting the program that is so-called K-City Network Program to promote government-to-government collaboration on smart city and share its experiences with countries and cities around the world. So in 2020, it has received an overwhelming responses with about 80 applications by 23 countries, and Korea has selected or about 12 smart cities projects from 11 countries. Out of these 12 smart city projects, 6 projects from 6 countries from ASEAN. As you can notice, there's a Malaysia Kota Kinabalu Smart City Project with Myanmar, Dala New Town Development, Vietnam, Smart City in the Mekong Delta region, Indonesia. I guess that there are some Indonesian participants tonight. Smart City for New Capital City Development, which is still on the way, but I think there's under this corona pandemic, it is now being put on hold for some time. But Indonesia's case is New Capital City Development is one of the areas that Korean Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, and Transport is now putting emphasis on, and Lao Vientiane urban drainage system improvement, and Thailand is Khon Kaen Smart City Mobility Master Plan. Those 6 projects were selected for K-City Network Corporation, and it's now still underway. Yep. Then this in 2021, this year, this another application process has been undertaken from February 18 to April 20 for this year's project. I think that's I have not made any updates on this outcome of the whole this process. Probably maybe we could have some time to catch up with that. And in order to promote and foster smart city cooperation with overseas partners, the MOLIT, Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, has a special online portal called Smart City Korea. You can check on this website that is giving you on a snapshot of what is this smart city collaboration is about, especially some documentation and policy papers, and also some projects that are already undertaken. And another institution that is a newly created one is a KIND, Korea Overseas Infrastructure and Urban Development Corporation. Is an organization established in June 2018 and by the Korean government, and also in order to support global public-private partnership businesses. So these are the tools now under the Korean government. And there are 2 pilot projects now underway by the Korean government. One is Busan Eco Delta Smart City Project. President Moon Jae-in has made a groundbreaking ceremony in 2019. And it is more like a smart water management-based project, and it's still underway. And another one is, I think that you might have heard, the Sejong Smart Cities project, which is more on based on the concept of AI-based, artificial intelligence-based city, and creating a smart city that changed the daily life of citizens through 7 innovation factors: mobility, healthcare, education and jobs, energy, environment, governance, culture and shopping, life and safety. We'll have to see just what will be coming out of this Sejong Smart City. And probably Seoul is one of the model smart cities that Korea can be proud of presenting to you. It's full of urban development best practices. It has whole stories of transforming the city into the modern and sustainable and greener city within the last 3 decades. And there is one agency within Seoul metropolitan government. It's a smart city kind of the window agency called Seoul Urban Solutions Agency. It is abbreviated form is SUSA, Seoul Urban SUSA. It has been established in 2015 and to serve as a platform to collaborate with the public sector and private corporation and also financial institutions. So I hope that you could get in touch with this Seoul Urban Solution Agency if and when needs arise. There are two international organizations that is also based in Seoul. One is CityNet. CityNet is a small but important organization of local authorities in the Asia Pacific. It has about the membership of 173 municipalities, NGOs, and private companies. And it is more on sustainable development, but it is running urban SDG knowledge platform as an online knowledge sharing program. And another organization is World Smart Sustainable Cities Organization. It is called WeCo, that was established in 2010. It's based in Seoul, Korea as well. It's an international association of city and other local governments, especially for sharing smart tech solution for smart city development. So even WeGo, this organization has conducted mayoral conference together with ASC and ASEAN Smart City networks in that was I think 2019. So with that, I think that's my presentation is almost over. I think that I have more or less met the timeline. So my presentation is more on the ASEAN-Korea partnership and also briefly how ASEAN and Korea are working together in smart city development. So I will stop here and thank you for your attention, and I'll be very happy to join you in Q&A. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your great lecture today. So, all right. So, if you have any questions from the audience, please, yeah, feel free to ask any questions.
Hi, Kelly and Ano. Long time no see. Do you have any question? Welcome.
Yes, thank you, Professor, and good evening to all the professors and the fellow alumni. And I'm just interested, Professor, if there's because of the pandemic, the ongoing pandemic, if there is also a cooperation between Korea and the ASEAN in terms of helping the developing countries, particularly the ASEAN countries, to recover from the negative effects of the pandemic, Professor.
Then, thank you so much for the first question. I think this is always difficult to break the ice with the right question. And I'm very glad that while I was serving as ambassador to Indonesia in 2020, it's at the beginning of the pandemic period, Korea and ASEAN have been working together in making the early responses more effective and deliverable. And Korea has been one of the first countries that have been helping ASEAN to have more capacities and readiness to cope with the the worsening pandemic situation. First and foremost, providing rapid test kits, PCR test kits, and ventilators, and masks, and other medical equipments. And also, I think there's we have provided financial support for ASEAN's own financial initiative to tackle the global pandemic. There is a ASEAN plus three, ASEAN plus South Korea, Japan, and Korea, China. There's a fund to respond to corona pandemic. So that is still underway. I mean, and also the Korean government is providing some financial assistance for some of ASEAN countries to be well equipped with the hygiene and overall health system within the context of capacity building. And while I was serving as ambassador to Indonesia, I was quite happy to work together with Korean companies already based in Indonesia to provide necessary materials and equipments and medical items for their community, Indonesian community, through the kind of helping hand. And maybe I should also add one more kind of item to what has already been done, is that in order to speed up the post-corona recovery, I think there are ample rooms for ASEAN and Korea to work together in a much closer manner to come up with so-called greener and more sustainable recovery packages. So I think that's something that we should work on a bit harder.
Professor?
Yes.
Sorry. My name is Eksanuddin. I'm from Indonesia, and I'm now. Yes. Thank you for giving a lot of information about your experience. I know that you have a lot of experience during your living in Indonesia, and the one aspect that I want to ask is about the sustainability aspect, which is, we know that sustainability aspect for the cooperation is one thing, is the most important thing, because we know that the smart city takes time to develop. How to maintain the sustainability aspect for that kind?
Well, thank you, Pak Eksanuddin. Terima kasih banyak. Yes. Well, I think nowadays the definition of smart city is evolving. So in the past, smart city, when it was first introduced, I'm not an expert on that, but I think even in Korea, the stages of smart city development has started with so-called ubiquitous city. It's a more ICT-based one, and the tech-based, tech-driven. But now I think there's more or less a majority of scholars and experts are all agreeing on more imperative need to incorporate sustainability in the smart city concept. So I think the weight has shifted from just being smart to being smart and sustainable at the same time. So I think when we are talking about the smart city development or the smart city cooperation, I think the one primary tenet or the theme underlying our cooperation is how to secure long-term sustainability and eco-friendly and greener cities. So, and another concept that might be more useful to quote is that how to make cities more livable. That livable, the being livable is incorporating much broader version, not only being smart, but also being sustainable, being green, and being eco-friendly and well integrated to provide maximum convenience for the residents. So I think that's that concept. So I don't think that it is necessary for us to have a binary kind of divide, binary choice. So whether to have a smart city definition, not fully incorporating the concept of sustainability. But I think that now it's time to go together, go for those two concepts at once. And in case of, I think this the city of Seoul, for example, I think this people are more concerned and much more attentive to the notion or the concept of sustainability when they are talking about smart city.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Herman.
Yep.
From Tanzania. Thank you for your presentation. From your presentation, you've shown that Asians is also dealing with security issues among the member countries. I would like to know which are the main responsibilities of the Asia in the civil wars, and also if there is a political misunderstanding among the country members in Asia.
Well, Mr. Herman, this from Kenya. I'm not fully able to grasp the exact message or the exact question that you have posed to me. That's the which country is responsible for what the
No, I say that because in your presentation you've shown that Asians also deal with security issues within the country members.
security,
Now I'd like to security issues.
Security issues within
Yes.
within ASEAN.
Yes, within ASEAN.
Within 10
now,
member ASEAN countries.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what are the main responsibilities of the in security issues among, especially for the countries with the civil wars or with the political misunderstanding among the people of the country?
Well, that's ASEAN has undergone quite tremendous ordeals and the ups and downs in political scenes, and of course, there's this ASEAN itself has been given birth to when these member states, I mean the founding member states of ASEAN have been confronted with the a threat of communism that is late 1960s. So and then as you know that there were some civil stripes. Now is the more or less the with that establishment of ASEAN, that gradually the tensions have subsided, and potential risks for the any kind of the clashes or the conflicts within member states have faded away. I think that is the major achievement that ASEAN may be well proud of. Through consultation, through dialogue, and through the community building efforts that ASEAN has avoided any major conflicts within ASEAN countries. And also with that collective power, ASEAN has been able to maintain its own centrality, its own security vis-a-vis other major powers outside ASEAN region. And in just recently that there's the coup in Myanmar, and then ASEAN is having hard time with dealing with this specific issue, especially take into account the very conventional and traditional principle of ASEAN, which is non-interference in internal affairs of member states. But still, in order to solve this outstanding issue, ASEAN has been trying. Of course, it's not fully effective, still not fully in operation. But I think that ASEAN is trying to come up with some solution within their hands, and also try to mitigate negative impacts from those internal issues. And I hope that that answer might be sufficient for Mr. Herman's question. And I just received another question from DK Team or team. I don't know. I'm sorry that my pronunciation might be a bit poor. But in the direction of ASEAN, will Korea aim to expand cooperation beyond the 12 previous elected projects? If so, which country will you target next? And how, by the next conference or any other, will Korea or more pilot projects? Well, there's, I think that's a very technical one. That is I think that his question is directed at the K-City network projects. There are 12 projects already underway, and out of these 12 projects, there are 6 projects belonging to ASEAN. And for next stage, I'm not sure. This is the MOLID, Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, does not have any targeted country or targeted numbers. I think this is basically merit-based, the selection process. So I think that's if and when this budgetary means will be available, then I think that they will expand the number of pilot projects and try to provide more technical assistance or the capacity building support for the applicants or cities or government. And for the especially still we are now undergoing this global pandemic. So next conference or the next offline meetings, we may not have any scheduled ones yet, perhaps next year. But I think that's the key is that Korea is still at an initial stage of collaborating with the foreign stakeholders in smart city cooperation. I think that's when especially with ASEAN. So I think that's in my personal opinion that Korean government should put more energies and more resources in the offering smart city solutions for ASEAN member states, and perhaps also working together with other foreign donor agencies and financial institutions to have better financial backup plans. And then another question that I just received, that's from Reni from Indonesia, and the question is, it's not a question, it's more like a comment. It's really appreciate comprehensive explanation, and then ask for continued support for Korea, ASEAN, Korea, Indonesia partnership. So, I will stop here. And
can I have a question, please?
Sure.
My name is Sukim from Cambodia. Professor, I observed that you have a very insightful observation in terms of the initiative program that led by China, for example, the Belt Road and so on. And I believe that the establishment of the ASEAN free trade with South Korea has already successfully carried out. And I would like to hear your perspective on how the significance between the ASEAN and Korean free trade, and then the Korean and the ASEAN's member free trade, like a bilateral free trade. What is the significant differences between these two trade deals?
The ASEAN Korea Free Trade Agreement, that is Korea versus ASEAN 10 member states, have been completed and taken into effect, if my memory is right, at 2008. And then for example, with Indonesia, we have a bilateral FTA. It's not called titled FTA. It's a Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. It's Indonesia Korea CEPA, CEPA. And the ASEAN Korea FTA is a bit low level of trade liberalization. So the tariff reduction, tariff elimination, and coverage of goods are a bit lower than the bilateral FTA, because it is covering the whole 10 ASEAN member states. So it's quite difficult when we had a negotiation with the ASEAN partners. We have not made a success in fully rolling down the trade barriers. But when it comes to bilateral FTA, whether it's Indonesia or Singapore, or I think there's now a negotiation is on the way with Malaysia, and just concluded a bilateral negotiation with Cambodia, so and the Philippines. So I think there's this individual bilateral FTA has more potential for higher liberalization rate and much broader coverage, and also it may have some other aspects other than trade barriers elimination, like economic cooperation, intellectual property right protection, or even investment chapters. So depending upon the countries, where we could just pinpoint some of the areas to be included in the bilateral FTAs. So I think that's so the bilateral FTA is complementing, basically, giving a kind of supportive role in promoting trade and investment with that individual member countries, even though we are enjoying this broader umbrella FTA with ASEAN.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Okay. Then I think we can wrap up today's forum. Yeah, again, we very appreciate your great lecture today, Ambassador Changbom Kim. Thank you very much. And then it was good to see you all from alumni and also students here. I know it's just around the corner to the end of semester. You're busy, but so I mean, good luck to your finals and hope you have a good vacation. So yeah, we will come back on September for the next semester of an infra forum, right? And yeah, it's hot outside, so be healthy and enjoy your time. Right. Thank you very much,
Thank you
and
very much.
have a good night.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you,
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Professor.
sir. Thank you.
Bye.
감사합니다. 수고하셨습니다. Thank you.
감사합니다, 회장님.
Thank you so much. And
감사합니다.
have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. 감사합니다.
Thank you. Thank you for presentation.